here from Rain Country. God is good all the time, and I'm here for an updated video on the butter powder. So several years ago I started stocking up on the butter powder. First I tried a small container of it, just a 1 pound container, and at the time Hoosier Hill Farms was the only one making it that I could find. I just happened to see it, and I was already using their whole milk powder, which I really like. So I decided to try a small container and just kind of played with it a little bit and was really happy with it, and then started stocking up on it. So I do, if you like butter, I do highly recommend storing some butter powder. But let me give you a rundown on some prices. This time I did kind of look it up real quickly to see at the time that I'm shooting this in January of 2026, the difference in price. So the Hoosier Hill, for the 1 pound container, is the more expensive one. The other two that I would highly recommend, just even though I haven't tried their butter powder, I've tried their other dairy products. They're high quality, good brands, and I like the way they package their stuff in the Mylar type zip bags that are dark, don't let any light in, rather than these containers like this. And those you can store as is for years and years without opening them. Now I keep a jar like this. I just topped this off because I was getting down to the bottom in my pantry here for easy use. Judy's is the one. I'll link to all three of these, by the way, down below. And then the Anthony's Goods. They have a lot of great products. Both of them do. Is the other, and they are their price is the same. It's about $1.15 per ounce. I know that sounds like a lot, but remember, you're dealing with powders. So, and a little can go a long way. So if you're buying just the 1 pound, that to try it out, I would suggest one of those two. And that way you can try it. If you decide you really like it and you want to get a bigger amount, the Hoosier Hill actually has a better price on their 2 pound container. So in fact, that's what this is. After I tried it, I started buying it in the 2 pound containers, and every month I would buy a new one until I got enough to actually fill up a 5-gallon bucket. I put it in a Mylar bag, sealed it up good, and then put it in a 5-gallon bucket with a Gamma Seal lid. So that's in our long-term storage, so that I always have that. And then I have a few containers here. Now initially I was vacuum sealing it into jars like this, but then found it's really not necessary. In fact, even though this is plastic, you don't need to vacuum seal it. It's kind of pain when you're vacuum sealing powders anyway, because you got to do the little cover over that, and then you vacuum seal, and sometimes that can still be problematic, and you got to take everything off and clean it, vacuum seal again. But powders are just that way. You got to put some kind of barrier between the powder and the lid, otherwise when you go to vacuum seal it, it pulls the powder out from under the lid and then causes it not to get a good sturdy seal. But anyway, even if you just want to get out of the plastic containers and put it into jars, you really don't even need to vacuum seal. I, in fact, had butter powder in here that I kept forgetting and got pushed to the back. I kept forgetting I had it, and it's still good. Nothing, years later, still good. So let me talk a little bit about some of the ways that I use it. Now, it's not a great replacement all the way across the board for real fresh butter. I mean, it's real butter, but it's in a powder form. The flavor is going to be a little bit different, as is the texture, because anytime you dehydrate or dry a dairy powder, it's always going to change the flavor a little bit. It's that you can sort of taste that similar dry milk flavor all the way across the board. Doesn't matter if it's cream cheese powder, sour cream powder, whole milk powder, buttermilk powder. It's all also heavy cream powder. It's all the same. But I still like to use all of these powders in various different ways. But today the focus is on the butter powder. So one of the first things I did was just adding water and mixing it up and seeing what kind of consistency I could get as a butter. And yes, you can, depending on the amount of water you add to it, you can get a spreadable butter to put on toast, pancakes, and more. Or you can add a little more water and make it something that you can drizzle. You could drizzle that on popcorn. I don't think I recall if I tried actually drizzling the wet butter powder, the liquid butter powder onto popcorn. But what I did do, and this is quite decadent, I've done this a couple times, it's pretty tasty, was I went ahead and used real butter, drizzled it over the popcorn, and then sprinkled a little bit of the powder over that so it would stick to the buttered popcorn. That was pretty good. I don't recommend doing that all the time, but if you want a real special treat, you can do that. You can do the same thing with like cheddar cheese powders and stuff. So some good stuff there. But moving on from there, what I normally do is just use it in baking. There's two main things I'm using it in. One is in various types of breads, and the other is in making my white sauce. Now I'll be putting the written recipe to my white sauce. When I say white sauce, this is going to be all the way across the board. This is going to be a base for making macaroni and cheese, for any kind of a la king, chicken a la king, turkey a la king, biscuits and gravy, anything like that. Even Alfredo sauce. And there was another one I was just thinking of, moussaka. Now I do add a few different things to it, but as far as the base recipe, the base dairy recipe, that is what I'm talking about, and that's the recipe I'll have down below. And what I use in that is a mix of whole milk powder, the heavy cream powder, and the butter powder to get a nice rich white sauce. And that way I can save my fresh dairies for everything else. I find the butter powders are great in your various types of gravies and sauces, because you're also typically adding other herbs and spices to it anyway, and you can get a pretty great flavor doing that. Now, the other thing I did, I was really nervous to try it, but I've done it a few times since, and now I think I'm just going to do it from now on, is whenever I'm making biscuits. This one really surprised me, is substituting all of the palm shortening. I get organic palm shortening from Azure Standard now, but substituting all of that for butter powder. Just doing the butter powder straight into with the flour and everything, and then you add your milk or water, whatever you're using, and it actually works out really good. The biscuits get a nice rise. They tend to rise better than using regular palm shortening or real regular butter, and tend to turn out a little flakier. And the flavor is really nice because of the butter in the biscuits themselves. So more recently, I've been doing more experiments with the butter powder in breads. I can't remember if I've tried it yet in pancakes, but if I haven't yet, I might have years ago. But I'm definitely, next time I make pancakes, I'm going to use the butter powder in there, and probably leave out like the avocado or almond oil, or people use different types of oils. I'll still use the egg though. So with the egg and the butter powder, I think I'll get really good results, especially considering how good the biscuits turn out. Now, for the pie crust, I did try using a pie crust. Sorry, I didn't get any pictures. I did it twice. I didn't think to take pictures at the time. Sometimes that's not always the first thing on my brain, but the first one, I did a 1/4 cup of butter powder in with the flour, and then still added almost the regular amount of the palm shortening as I normally would. Typically when I'm doing pie crust, I do a 50-50 blend of real butter and palm shortening. So I thought, well, I'll try the powder. I'll try it in a smaller amount first, so I can get that nice buttery flavor in there, but still get the flakiness from the palm shortening. That turned out pretty good. I really liked the flavor and the crispiness it gave to the pie crust. But on the next batch, when I tried decreasing the shortening and increasing the butter powder, it was still good and had a great flavor, but it wasn't as flaky. It tended to be just a little more tough. So I probably wouldn't do that again. So for pie crust, it's not a great across the board replacement like it is in biscuits. And then the other thing that I did yesterday, in fact, was I made a loaf of my yeast bread, and instead of, typically when I do that, I put about a 1/4 cup of real melted butter in there as I'm adding the liquid and everything else. So instead of doing that, I replace that with just a 1/4 cup of the butter powder. And I really love how the bread turned out. I mean, there's a couple different things I've been doing. One is using the squash powders. This one I decided I had spaghetti squash, so I powdered up even more fine, added the powdered spaghetti squash to that, and so I could get a more mild flavor than when I add the pumpkin. And then also added the butter powder, and just the overall softness and flavor, and the crust on the outside seemed like it got crispier, just light and crispy, and absolutely loved it. It was so good. I still use regular butter and melt it to kind of put over the whole outside of the bread, and that helps too. But some reason with the butter powder in the bread, that really made a great difference. So with that said, I'm going to be doing even more experiments with this, but now that I'm back in the habit of using it again, I'll be going through it a lot faster. And then I would eventually like to try the Anthony's brand and the Judy's brand, because I like their brand and other things, especially the way they're already packaged, I think is more preferable if you're storing it for long term, because you don't have to do anything different. You don't have to transfer it into jars unless you really want to. You can just leave it in the packages unopened, and then when you open them, go ahead and store it in a jar for easy use. And yes, I like to use the colored lids to help me be able to tell the difference when I'm opening up my cabinet, because I keep all my dairy powders in that cabinet right there. So I have the heavy cream, I've got the cream cheese, the whole milk, because I use more of that in anything, is actually in a 1/2 gallon jar I keep under the cabinet down here because it's too tall for in here. But what else? Buttermilk powder, I also have that. Oh yes, the other next thing I'm going to try it in is the next time I make tortillas, which probably will be very soon again, is I've tried using the squash powder in the tortillas. Love what it did to the texture. So I'm going to do the same thing with the tortillas like I did with the first pie crust, and still use the organic palm shortening, but cut back a little bit on that and add some of the butter powder and kind of play with that. I'm really looking forward to that because I think that'll turn out really good. Because the tortillas is another thing. I like using a 50-50 blend of butter and shortening when I'm making those up. And yes, I have a video on tortillas. It's older, but I will link to that down below. I always say that because you're gonna look and go, wow, everything looks really different. Well, it's because I have different camera, different lighting, and Patrick did finally finish out these cabinets a few years ago. So a lot of things about it look different. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and don't forget, if you want to check out more, to find that written recipe that I'm just going to put directly down below, and also the links to the butter powders that you can try. Click on more or show more somewhere down here below the video screen so you can check those out for yourself and give them a try. And if you have ever used butter powder in particular, please share your thoughts and ideas down below. How have you used it? What things do you like about it? What things do you dislike about it? So people can get some more ideas from you before they delve into even buying a 1 pound container of it, and find, that's really the best way to learn. But still, it's good to have some different various opinions on it from real people. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Take care and God bless.